The following content has been provided by New St. Andrews College in Moscow, Idaho. For more information, visit us online at nsa.edu.
Hear the world calling, but son, don't you listen. They're only trying to drag you back into prison, that's right.
Well, it's what have you time. It's basically the dead of the night.
It's still not even 9, but it feels like the dead of the night.
We've gathered together in the darkness to podcast.
Yeah, we got ourselves some caffeine to get us through the hard times ahead.
This day of mine, I had a lot on my schedule today, and because I did not get caught up on the things that were on my schedule at night, I thought I'll get up early, right? I'll get up at 5:30 and I'll nail... You know how this is going already. I'm like, and I'll nail this day by getting up at 5:30. So
I'm gonna rise with the larks.
I spring out of bed at 5:30. No troubles. I've been struggling with my early morning wake up times. But I wake up no problem at 5:30, but I have a cold, and it is making me feel like not it at 5:30 a.m. You know how colds are. They're better after you have coffee and take a shower. They you have to warm them up for the day a little bit, but the first dawn with a cold is not it. So I was like, you know what I should do? Now, people who know more than I know, apparently, might get this fatal step that I took. I took Alka Seltzer with zero knowledge that could make you drowsy. So then I'm sitting there trying to prep my webinar, which is happening that morning, so I should have been prepping it for sure. And I keep falling asleep sitting up. Like, I feel so weird. Then I think I'm gonna go I gotta go take a shower and see if that helps me rally. And so I take a quick shower, and I come out of the shower in my bathrobe with my hair in a towel. And for whatever reason, just my head felt so heavy. I felt like I needed to lay my head on the bed. So only the top half of myself was on the bed. I laid on the bed and then zonked out so hard. My husband says that I was snoring half on the bed. And then I woke up at 7.
So you were really happy you got that on-ramp to the day.
I was like, what a blessing that I could get up early to knock myself out. It was just like the most bizarre. And the funny thing is, the whole time I was thinking, like, this cold is amazingly bad, because I thought that all the heaviness in my head was the cold, not the Alka Seltzer. So,
oh my word,
I'll tell you, I'm not going back to Alka Seltzer. I just couldn't even with that. I thought,
Meanwhile, speaking of early mornings, I had to get up at 3:30 in order to drive Ben to the airport and drop him off. And then I am now, that was this morning, I have to get up at 3:30 again and drive myself to the airport, and I'm going to meet him in Orlando. But anyway, so for a quick trip, and he just went ahead, and I'm going to meet him for the next bit. But he calls me to tell me about his time.
This is the darkest.
This is
but the funniest.
His
I don't
time
know.
in the skies today.
Flying the two friendly skies. Come, don't fly those with me.
So he's going Salt Lake to Orlando, right? So that's a long stretch of time. It's like 4.5 hours. And Too long. He gets on there, and he has a window seat. So gets in, and he says, then a woman shows up who's kind of a hefty, middle-aged woman. And he said, not like huge, but definitely there, solid. And she hopped in, and then a very large man, arrived on the scene later.
They're like those stacking cones.
Yeah, and so he's really now bunched into that window seat and for 4.5 hours. And he's like, yeah, there's a lot of body mass happening there in the row. But that was not the problem. The problem was that then the man...
That's only setting the stage.
This is only context. He said the man begins to purchase the woman vodka shots.
Oh, my word. What could go wrong?
And he's like, more and more and more and more vodka shots. And
how do you find out that the
they're
person
like
next to
$8
you...
or something
right?
for a little twizzle of it.
Oh.
So anyhow, he said he's like, granted, there was a lot of body mass there. I mean, they could probably handle some more vodka, but he's like, it didn't matter. This was too much vodka. And he said, then they hit the phase where the lady is like laughing outrageously at everything he says. By the end of the flight, the last
Brace
hour,
yourself. Sit down.
The last hour, they are making out.
It is a flight he will never forget.
He's like wedged in by the window.
He should travel with my street sign that says no necking in this room. So that he can make it stop.
Just think to yourself, what a terrible scene.
No, I'm saying not only are you going to arrive in Orlando slap drunk, but you've been misbehaving the whole time.
Sullied yourself along the way. I mean, wow.
Oh.
Wow. It
Something.
yeah. So he was blessed with that.
Well, he was.
Opportunity.
I mean, it was dark to be there, but the whole time I'm sure he was treasuring it in his
He's
heart.
like, yeah, I put in my earphones and I read my book.
Wow. I'm sure the person across the aisle, I mean, there had to have been a lot of people blown away by this.
There had to have been a whole halo of surprise, I would think.
You would think that everyone would have a little feeling about that.
Well, what are the stewardesses up to? I thought...
Shouldn't they put a limit on those things?
Well, I thought they did.
So combining these two stories, it reminds me of our friends years ago, some girls that flew to Spain together. I think, I don't remember the details except for that one of them took some kind of a sleeping aid pill to try to, it was some kind of a strategy to not mess with yourself.
Have the jet lag.
But then they couldn't wake her up when they got there, and they ended up having to like drag her off the plane because she would not wake up. I mean, like that's rough when
that's
someone takes
super
you
rough.
out
But you
that
just
hard.
have to be happy you're traveling with friends at that point.
Yeah, because what would they do with you if you weren't?
I don't know.
If you weren't their friend, like just
Call
roll
in
you
the-
off of the plane. No one was responsible.
Just leave you there and keep going.
One time, Luke and I were traveling with Shadrach, who is our number 6 child, and it's very funny that partly we were in the South, so everyone is differently friendly, and also very friendly about children. Yeah. There was a lot of enthusiasm about the one child, and so the whole time people kept assuming he was our only child.
Yeah,
but it was number 6. But we had the best time with a guy in the airport who sidled up to Luke and was like, this is going to be a really special Father's Day for you. And we were dumb enough and tired enough that we just kept looking at him like, what? Like, why is this going to be a special Father's Day? Like, what do you know about it? Like, we just were not. It took quite some time before we realized that he thought it was going to be our first. Also, that same trip is the one where I got up in the middle of the night at the hotel, checked on Shadrach, who was asleep in the playpen, and then strolled out into the other room that was the suite to check on the other kids. And they were not there. And I was like, it was like this horrible moment of like, where are they? I remember looking at the love seat and turning around to look at something and being like, where are they? They're not here. And I'm like, woke Luke up. I was like, Luke, the kids are gone. And he leaps out of bed. And I'm ready to pull the fire alarm in the hotel I think they've been abducted or something. I don't know what I thought. But it took us a few minutes before he was like, Rachel, they're in Idaho. They're in Idaho with your parents.
Well, it's like that with the first baby, the panic. I remember Knox would be sleeping in the bassinet just fine next to the bed. And I would wake up in a like, oh, where is he? Like, where did I stick him? And I would be like looking under the covers and under the pillow.
That night panic that you don't know where the baby went.
Where is he? Oh, he's in his bed.
Oh, right. Just where I put him.
Right there in that place.
I did that not that long ago with Moses, when I put him down for a nap and didn't remember putting him down for a nap, so he was asleep, and I'm like yelling through the house, like Moses, say what, Mom? I'm like, Moses,
did you wake him up?
Respond immediately. I'm like upstairs, downstairs, out the front door. Like, no, I didn't wake him up, but when I went in to double check in the room, and he's like in his crib napping. I was like, that tells you I am doing too many things on autopilot. Yeah, and I put him down, did not recognize I had done that thing.
That's hilarious. Oh, my word.
Mm-hmm. So, other than great anecdotes about travel.
Anecdotes from the past. No, what should we talk about? I had something that I thought of.
Somebody asked.
Talk about.
Somebody asked. I have a thought.
I really want to turn the heater on, but it makes a weird noise.
Turn your seat heater on.
It's on. I'm roaring my seat heater right now.
Well, somebody asked us to talk about feeding large groups, and I talked to somebody else today about what I think would make a hilarious book, although I'm not serious, but called The Devil Hates Hospitality. And the reason is because I can think of hospitality just stands alone in the field of most likely to provoke you over incredibly petty things.
Oh, for sure.
Like, it is a real standout in that regard. And I think it's because it takes so much of a personal effort and output that the littlest thoughtless things seem monumental.
Yeah.
And so, one of the things that I've always thought is hilarious, so Mom is very hospitable. She does a lot of hospitality.
For sure.
She has her bathroom drawer of hospitality. You know that one, right?
I do not know what you mean. See, there's the weird noise.
Yeah.
I tried to risk it, guys. Turned on the heater. Maybe it will subside. We're just going to ride it out. Tell me about...
I think that's unseemly noise making.
Fine, I'll turn it
back off.
It'll take a minute.
Mom's hospitality bathroom drawer.
What are we talking about?
Her top drawer in her bathroom is full.
That's where she always kept the paddles when we had small children.
Yeah, it's still in there. There's still one in there. And then hair bands, like tweezers, hand lotion, Band-Aids. It's a constantly expanding drawer of hospitality. But the basis of this drawer of hospitality is things that guests ask you for at inopportune moments.
Right as you're whipping the cream.
It is like when you're clearly can't see past the sauce that's almost spoiling, and you're in an incredible sweat and a fever.
And your glasses have fogged up.
Yes, and possibly you are like trying to not spit in the sauce. Somebody then will come up to you, and they will say at that time, "My toe's bleeding. Do you have a Band-Aid?" And you're like, do I look like a person who has a Band-Aid? What about this signaled preparedness to you? What are you thinking? Or you're in the final throes of like draining the pasta, and someone will be like, did you know there's not a hand towel in your bathroom?
Where's the soap?
It just creates all these spectacular moments. The other ones that you don't know, and the thing is that people can be incredibly annoying at that time because they're being absolutely not bad at all and totally cheerful and friendly and the only thing they're not doing is being you.
Yeah.
And it's the only offense. There's nothing. So if you've been working all day to like get your house together and you frantically run to the grocery store and you burn your way home and you're making bread and something goes wrong and you solve the problem and you're doing this and you're like, I'm putting so much of myself into this. And then someone will undoubtedly come in and be like, oh, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, if you think you're tired, you should imagine what I feel like. lot to do. And the reason that I said the devil hates hospitality is that it's amazing what little petty seeds can actually destroy something really big and wonderful that's happening in hospitality. And it is one of the most it's a petty field of...
But it's also an incredibly effective... Hospitality is an incredibly effective field. You can see why the devil hates it.
No, but he gets so much traction with the little deeds.
Let me throw some sand in your gears.
Yeah, like someone could just come in with a wet leaf stuck to their foot and it could put you off your cheese. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's like hopefully you're not the kind of person...
I'm sounding like a terribly petty hostess, and I'm actually not. But
hopefully you're not the kind of person that will lose the bubble over a floor that needs to be swept. But even if you're not that person, at the right moment, in the midst of hospitality, you could get tempted.
You could get there. And someone, confession, we had parish group at our house tonight, and when, in the course of the day, I was getting ready for it, I chose to not mop. I was like, our house needs to be mopped. I'll mop it after this. Yeah. Not before this. I did sweep it and vacuum, but I was like, you know what? Actually, it's probably going to get worse, so let's not worry about it. And that is, it's better to not be acting like this is your pristine canvas that you were not hoping people would use.
The whole point of hospitality, the point should be to welcome people into your home, not to set up a parade for them to watch from a distance.
No, and that's the point, is that what you're welcoming is all the little disruptions. The whole point is like the Herodotus saying that the distractions are the points. Yes. He didn't say that, but the distractions in Herodotus is the point of Herodotus. Exactly. And sometimes people will read that and complain that he didn't stick to the mission. Yeah. And that is the thing about hospitality, is that the powerful work that goes on there is you being sacrificial in spite of people being annoying and not on time and doing things wrong and requesting something else to eat and
bringing friends without telling you.
Bringing someone, or one of my favorites about various food sensitivities is that they almost always mean that you're allergic to the filler food. Yeah. It's like universally the thing that the hostess chose in the hopes that you would mostly eat that is the thing that you're like, I can't, sorry. Just the goat cheese and avocado for me. You're like, no, you can't eat that. It's garnish. That's my expensive garnish. So, go back to the rice.
People feeding big groups of people. We've had actually a number of questions about this, of tips for doing it big.
Okay, yeah.
So, what are your tips for big? You always, I think you've said this on various podcasts. Once you hit, and I think
50,
I think 40. Your number has changed. I think sometimes you say 40 and sometimes you say 50.
It kind of depends on what it is, because I would say that 40 for soup is not the same as 40.
40 for soup is great if I this summer bought a jumbo pot, a really big pot. It's fabulous.
Yeah, but I mean that's not out of control in the same way as
simple.
40 for meatloaf. It would become a bit more of an event.
It would be terrible.
It would become stuff. Or 40 for homemade ravioli would be a crisis. I remember one of my early lessons of hospitality was homemade ravioli.
Well, ravioli is really hard to get more than 3 to turn out nicely.
But I made ravioli and I put my heart and soul into that ravioli and they were delicious. Yeah. They were truly excellent.
They can be amazing.
They were truly excellent ravioli. And then you sit down and because they were good, you see people stabbing 3 of them on a fork at one time and you're like, put that back!
That's also a garnish.
Savor your bites. Don't stuff them all in there.
You know what? That's another thing. Speaking of petty things, is how fast you could you can spend all day on something and then it's gone.
It's gone
in no time. It's gone.
I was talking to someone who said that she just doesn't love cooking because you put all this love into it and then it's just over. It's like there's no lasting memory of it. And I was like, no, I don't think that. You know those pictures? The pictures that are made out of a zillion pictures? Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, you do. They're always in ads. It's like a collage of tiny pictures that makes up the one big picture.
Oh, sure, fine.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I was like, that's the kind of art that hospitality is. It's not any one moment was a big performance. It's that through a lifetime, I hope God does something beautiful with this. Like, it's not about this moment has to be incredible or this moment. It's like, no, it's just faithfully giving him more different colors to put in a big thing. You know, it's like, this is more offering of the same thing.
Right.
But I'm hoping that by the end of my life, there's so many of it. That it will make something really beautiful.
So, okay, in terms of just practical tips on feeding big groups. Okay, so soup is the one that you and I have been doing with big groups lately because it's very straightforward.
I made not quite enough chili tonight.
But as far as
or right on the dot, which makes you feel like not enough.
It's tricky because for our soup night where we have a bunch of freshmen come every week, I am doing paper goods right now because I just want it to be manageable in my life. And because I'm teaching full time and because I have 5 kids and because I have a house being renovated and everything. It's just like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to feel obliged to have that many dishes every time. Or if I did do that, like if I set the bar too high, I think what would just happen is it would never happen because I would never be able to fit that in. But at the same time, when you are going to do paper goods, there's ways of doing it where it's cute and cheery and fun, even though it's disposable. And so
mine wasn't cute tonight because I ran out of the bowls.
Then you get a demerit.
But points off for tonight.
But
I didn't mop, and I did not have cute bowls.
You can do paper stuff, and you can have it be throwawayable and still have it be kind of cheery and inviting. So the way I have been doing it lately, which I love because it's very efficient and I totally ripped off your idea, is...
So, put a footnote in there, listeners.
Yeah, it was Rachel's first. It's like that. I don't think we ever used to do this, but we had friends who was like, you can borrow my sweater, but if anyone says it's cute,
you have to tell them it's mine. It's so good because what happens if every time you wore it, no one said anything?
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, this was Rachel's idea. But at the restaurant supply store that we have spoken well of in the past,
URM cash and carry.
There's the little...
It smells so weird in there.
Like little red plastic diner baskets. And they're kind of like Funky Town, but they're also...
They're just like what you would get. Like
fish and chips. Yeah. This is a new thing Rachel's been working on. Fish and sticks.
That was even not what I expected myself to say. So it was a treat all around.
Like some fish and Pocky sticks, maybe.
Or pretzel sticks. Cheese sticks.
There's so
a
many
whole
sticks.
new thing because fish and cheese is always...
selection of sticks.
I'm just on a roll now.
But anyway, but they are kind of like funky retro little things. You know, they're very sort of Americana. They stack...
Are yours oval?
Mine are oval flat bottom, though.
Yeah, mine should be... I need to work on mine being... I have round ones, which I like.
I was looking for round, but they just had the oval. And they're... Yeah. So, and then I grabbed a box of 9 million little wax paper squares that are already pre-cut, and so you just pull out the wax paper square.
Check ones and plain ones.
Oh, so you're even fancier.
Variety show.
But it can be like really just kind of cute. And so then I just stack up all of the baskets with the parchment in it, and then I got little soup cups that are like paper hot cups.
I couldn't find those there. We need to go together and find them. I've been buying the styrofoam bowls because I couldn't find.
No, I've got the cute paper ones. But they're shaped like a cup, not like a bowl. So it's like it takes up less room in the little tray, but it also is slightly more attractive than just a wonky paper bowl.
The styrofoam ones that I buy are like short and squatty. They probably hold like a cup and a half, but they're like rounded. And they're not adorable by themselves, but they look plenty cute and fine in the basket.
Yeah, mine have been great, and I think they're 12 ounces maybe. And people can come back through. But the other thing that's nice is it limits the supply, and you can't actually fit that much in it. So when I put the soup bowl in the basket, there's room on the side to put bread or a little bit of something else, but not a ton. Like you can fit stuff in there. So I just kind of set it up where they come around the table, and there's a stack of the baskets. and the cups. So they grab a cup, and then I have a giant cutting board that I put all the homemade bread on, and a bread knife, and I kind of slice up a few loaves, and I leave the others, and they can kind of cut themselves bread, and I do a big bowl of honey butter, and then a stack of napkins, and then, like I said, the giant one pot. And I've been trying to find recipes for soup that are like
goat cheese that goes on the bread too as an option.
Oh, that's fun. But I am dealing with.
You never know what people will like.
No,
though.
it's
I
true.
have some people.
Honey butter is universal, though.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's pretty.
But
universal.
sometimes it doesn't really. Well, it doesn't. Like if you're going to be dipping your bread in your soup, you might not want honey butter. But I do that a lot. I do honey butter a lot too.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, you can actually make it like cheery and cute and inviting.
The benefit of the baskets is that it makes it humanly possible to sit and hold, because you can put your fingers through the holes in the basket very easily.
Yeah.
And it's just an easy to hold item. So you can actually sit anywhere in the house or stand and still be holding your soup and your bread.
And you're not like wandering around with a paper bowl. Like you have a little.
And if you put a paper bowl on a paper plate, then you have a real wobble.
Yeah.
This is a much more gripped situation.
Yeah.
So that's what we do. And when we're having like with parish group, most of the time, I didn't do this tonight. Man, all the ways I slacked are coming out right now.
Yeah, I'm glad we can.
I gotta buy a big roll of freezer paper and roll it down the middle of the table and put little cups of crayons down the table.
Oh, that's sweet.
So that
kids?
the kids can sit down and do that. That's kind of a,
yeah, that's fun.
Something that we do if I set the tables.
But I just mean like you can do. I always feel like sometimes the paper route can just be really demoralizing and like seems like a sad potluck.
Yes, there are ways to make it still seem thought of. Like someone still took time over this, even though I actually bought a big metal garbage can.
I have one too.
I bring in, but I bring it in from the garage only for this. I put it at the end of the buffet.
Oh, I just bring it out of my kitchen.
Yeah, but I don't have that in my kitchen. So I bring it in the buffet so that when people... So there's an easy way to, like, get rid of all of your extra...
Everybody can just drop it in, stack their plastic things at the end.
And it's no big deal. The cleanup is not that big a deal.
Cleanup is nice.
But so that's what we do for soup night. So,
and that's like a super
But the reason both of us do that...
is because it's
achievable and it's a regular thing to do. And
it's like a weeknight kind of thing. It's not what I would do if I was going to have a party for a bunch of people.
No, the reason we try to do it soup night for our parish group is because you have stuff you have to do with kids in the evening. Like they may have homework or they have something. So we wanted to have our parish group not be conflicting with your regular evening at home. So we moved it up to dinner time so that it would actually maybe make your life easier in some ways. Like, I don't have to make dinner tonight.
Yeah, and we just do a study
tonight.
thing,
I made those pumpkin whoopie pies.
I made those the other night.
Yeah, those are delicious. And I think what makes those so good is all the cardamom in them. The cardamom makes them.
I didn't have cardamom, and so
yours were not delicious.
They were not as delicious.
The cardamom just brings that something.
It really does. It really does.
I was out of nutmeg tonight, so
yeah, I ran out too. I had only cinnamon in mine. They were kind of not as good as normal, but. The one thing I did do is I just splashed out and bought one of those cookie scoops with the little hand release because the pumpkin whoopie pies, which
you don't have to talk me into that. I have 3 of those.
Now that we're going to
progressing sizes.
Yeah, I know. I have a big one, but it's more like a mashed potato scoop, not a cookie scoop. Right. But the thing is if you just do teaspoons, those things, they do not spread out and even in the oven. They stay lumpy. So it's like they grow a little bit, but they stay in weird wonky shapes. Like a chocolate chip cookie just kind of evens itself out, and these don't. So because you're putting them together and making them cute, I was like, I just need to buy the little scoop, and that will be easier.
Yeah, I did it because it enabled, when I have the smaller scoop, if I'm doing it for more people, I make them small. Yeah. So you can make more. So things that I would say about cooking for a big group of people. One thing is, aside from soup night, we've covered it.
We've covered soup night.
We've covered the waterfront on soup night, I believe. So the thing that I would do on other things is cook often thinking of it. Like food that you like normally in your own home. Just think like, I could do that.
Sure.
Sometime, or this, or how could I change this to be a more feasible thing, or how could I, because you're not going to like switch over to a new style of eating. It's a little different when we have a lot more people, but you still want to do food that you like. And that's a problem because most of the time people just opt for whatever monster crockpot events you could do, or whatever you could do that would just be one giant bag of frozen hash browns.
I know, and it's like, don't do that. The thing is,
I believe about food. Actually, I believe it about a lot of things, and I think I've said it on the podcast about other things.
Probably.
Is that some things someone has to love you for you to get it.
Yeah.
And apple strudel feels like that to me. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a fun thing. It's not that hard of a thing to make, but you either have to do it yourself or someone loves you.
Yeah.
Like, well, for homemade apple strudel. But there's a lot of things like that, and the hospitality of someone bothering to cut up a bunch of vegetables means someone loved you. Like, it just means that it wasn't worth their time to do that. It wasn't worth, like, if you just go buy a big pallet of something that was already made at Costco, I'm not trying to minimize, I'm not trying to say you're not being hospitable. I've done that. It's part of what I said earlier about the picture of everything. It's just that there's something, sometimes I think, sometimes I just go with the easiest, most practical. Sometimes I'm intentionally doing something that's not practical or easy.
But also, I think there's a real kind of puzzle about it that I kind of enjoy that part where it's like,
the mood.
If you think,
try to channel the mood.
Yeah, you try and channel the mood, but mostly I mean, like, okay, this has 4 super weird challenges that I need to get over. How am I going to put together a menu that will accommodate all of those challenges? So on my last thing that I was doing last week with the banquet, it's like, and no kitchen. That's my first challenge. But it's sort of like any mediocre designer could design a beautiful room if there was no restraint on what they were allowed to do. It's like you have whatever budget you want. Mm-hmm. You can make the room look however you want. You can build it to your specs. Well, anybody can make that look pretty.
No, like if you don't have a budget,
there's no budget.
If there's no budget, but you're going to feed a lot of people, well then.
But it's kind of like with a designer. It's like what makes a great designer is when it's like, this is a weird shaped room, the fireplace is in the wrong place, and you have way too small of a budget.
And you still made it seem homey. Yeah.
And so that's where I feel like the challenge is what can create the really successful moments. And I think that it's easy to just subside into the crock pot again because,
we shouldn't even talk about that because neither of us are good at a crock pot.
No, there's some things I love about a crock pot, but very few. But anyway,
it's such a limited release.
But there's a kind of, it just feels like, oh well, this is the thing I've figured out how to do. Whereas it's like, we'll just stretch out a little bit and see if you can come up with something else. On the other hand,
in my early days of hospitality, I was so opposed to that, just the normal things. That, like, I had an opposition to Texas sheet cake.
Yeah, we've talked about your hot dog journeys.
Yeah, but then now I do that in a different way because it is deliberate love for people who love it.
But I just mean, like, okay, so I've done dinners for maybe 70 before where you're trying to think, how can I make it seem like it's actually a fun...
You mean like somewhere else or in your house?
No, this would be like
at a different
somewhere else,
a different place.
Where you're trying to make it feel like, okay, they just got a fun dinner, like something that
I think 40
would be interesting.
Is probably the most I've had for like a nice dinner in my house.
Well, this wasn't in my house, but I've done it a couple times.
Was picking that.
But it's like I for one of them, I ended up doing a bunch of pork tenderloins. Because you can make one big batch of rub all the tenderloins. You can roast a ton of them in the oven all together. Get them through fairly quickly, and then sliced them and did little sliders, and we did like an apple slaw and a bacon jam to put on it. So like and then people feel like they're getting something interesting and not totally normal, but at the same time, it was really easy prep because you can make a huge vat of the apple slaw. That's what I meant by like take notes on your own cooking, because sometimes something that ought to be really simple does not scale well. Like sometimes you're like, this is actually not a hard thing to make, but pasta is virtually impossible unless you have like an industrial kitchen.
Really weird tip about pasta.
Oh yeah, I have this, but still you have to have way too much water boiling at the same time if you're trying to feed 50 or 70
still a
people.
Weird tip, and I don't do it. I'm still telling you. The world
Okay.
is full of these weird tricksynesses.
Yeah.
Freezer bags, Ziploc freezer bags, do not melt.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure they do at some point.
But you
broil those things. Broil them.
You can boil them.
You can boil them. So if you put them in some people will do this where you pre-make pasta or rice, and if you put it in those, you can drop the bag into boiling water to heat it up again. I don't do this though because you have guests then that have toes that are bleeding, and the last thing I want to be doing is fishing freezer bags out of a pot of boiling water.
No, but also, like, for that many people, pasta is not a practical solution.
No, it's hard to keep it hot.
It's hard to keep it hot. It's hard to keep it fresh. It's hard to have it not all glued together into a giant lump. It's like...
Yeah, but it is a good filler food, so it might be worth the fight, because sometimes you can, if you do like angel hair pasta, so if you have a straining basket in the boiling water so that you can drop pasta.
But you'd have to do multiple batches.
Yes, and you have to know that you're going to be...
But you could do something like an orzo salad where you cook it all in advance and then serve it cold, and that's gorgeous.
Or you could reheat it. But the thing that I... try to do is just pay attention when you're making stuff. Like if you see a recipe that looks like you would like it, make it. Keep practicing and expanding, because sometimes you make something, and what happens most often to us is that I make something that we then like enough that we want to share it with people. Like that we're like, oh, we should find a time when this should be on the menu.
So you guys did that one, you did it a few times, that great big dinner where you just invited like everyone to come. And
the Christmas dinner.
And that was a bunch of shredded pork and... what all did you do that? A really yummy homemade queso sauce.
We did a Mexi mashup. It was with
like rice and beans.
So
and
we did a Christmas dinner for...
everyone in
a couple years. Yeah, we rented a space, and then what we did is we emailed out the invite to everyone as a printable invite. So our idea was just invite your neighbors, invite people that, it was like a weeknight dinner. It was not, it was just a,
oh my word.
Invite people, bring people. We turned tables. We had some priceless times at that, because we had a lot of that. One of the fun things about that was that I read in a book, I think, Tim Chester, Meal with Jesus, right? Isn't that what it's called? He wrote a thing in there that he said that Christians are typically really good at feeding the poor and bad at eating with them.
Oh, yeah.
And so what we did was it was a real mix and mash of all classes of people, but we had the down and outer contingency. It was very cute, because some of them showed up both years early, and it was like open doors, it was not like, but some came like with their invitations to like prove that they had been invited. We were like, no, you're totally welcome coming in. But there were some just priceless. There were a few of them that you could tell were well accustomed to a food line, and they demanded service.
Surly. They were surly.
They demanded a certain level of service from a food line.
I was like slopping out rice for you, like out of and
I was saying, you were schlepping rice for me.
I was dishing, and one guy was like, I need more rice than this.
Oh my word, so funny.
Like, yeah,
no, and
it's
then
coming,
and we're
and
like,
then he
we're
came back
making,
and said it was taking too long to get the next batch.
He was like,
done.
why is your rice not faster? And we're like, maybe you're at a free dinner.
Then he suggested to me rice-a-roni.
So good. So, and there was some amazing, there was one guy that thought he was having his last day on the outside. He thought he was going to jail tomorrow.
Going to jail.
And he was filling all of his pockets in his cargo pants up with cookies. I remember he didn't end up having to go to jail.
No, but he was ready.
It was a good news time for him. But it was just...
But the menu.
It seemed like an epic thing to be stuffing your cargo pants.
The menu was a giant pot of rice.
Oh, yeah. So the menu was, I made I think it was just regular white rice, wasn't it? Sometimes when I make it at home, I do it with a little bit of cumin or something in the rice. But this was more of a mass-produced ricing operation. Yeah. This is why I bought the restaurant rice cooker.
Yeah. The one that I used last night.
Are we going overtime? Because I feel like I feel like we might be sailing. Well, we're getting close. Okay, so I made like a black beans that was just I mean, it's not complicated. It was black beans with onion and garlic and some tomato paste and oregano and, I don't know, salt. I can't think of anything else that was in there. Yeah. Cumin, a little bit of cumin. So they're just seasoned black beans. And then pork that was Mexi pork.
But see, that's a good one because you can cook it in advance and you can shred it all.
It reheats really well. Pork does a good job at that. So
they heat it in roast ovens or something.
We had it in big. We had it in we had it in about 1 billion containers because I feel like we had like 80 pounds of pork or.
Yeah,
it's a lot of pork. I don't remember. And then we do the toppings. So it's kind of like a build your own burrito situation because we have.
Yeah, and we got those. You got those really cool little paper.
Oh yeah, like the little fry boat kinds of things, like but the bigger ones.
Little boat shaped.
Yeah. Things. So you go through and then you get the. So the theory is you get rice and then beans and then pork and then we did like a queso sauce and we had Mexi cheese and we had chips. My favorite is that angel hair cabbage slaw. It's squeezed lime and a little bit of salt and cilantro on it. So it's like a very fresh. And then avocado, tomatoes, olives, cilantro, green onions, maybe pickled red onions. I feel like whatever we thought of
olives
got on probably. The buffet.
Yeah.
And then we ran out of stuff. And then
avocados, I think.
Sour cream. The queso sauce I make is like only the classiest queso sauce. I just made it up, so I don't know. But
she calls it classy queso.
My classy queso. My queso class act. It's just like butter and flour, roux, and then add milk, and I throw in green chilies, like the can of mild green chilies. And then when it is thick, it's like some salt and pepper. And then I put a little bit of Velveeta. That, like in other cheeses, like a Mexi Jack kind of cheese is way too stringy
and grainy.
So I put it in it. I put cumin in it, salt, pepper, green chilies, and then at the very end, I throw in a little handful of the Mexi cheese, so it's not just the Velveeta. I don't put that much Velveeta in it. It's like just a cheese. It's good.
And it's really good.
So what you end up with is the options are to have a very hearty, cheesy filling operation with tortilla chips.
And then squeezing lime over the top of it. It's
or
amazing.
You can do the like avocado and cabbage slaw and lime and like a much brighter tomato, you know.
And so I just feel like that's one that is a really fun dinner for but that was, you fed what? 400 people
probably. We turned tables at that event. It's really a fun way to do it, and it does feel incredibly. That one was a direct outcropping of an event we did at a park that just. It wasn't really an event. It was our son was doing rugby, and every time we would go to rugby, it was like in this fall kind of weather where it was getting really cold at dinner time, and I would bring dinner, and it kept happening that we were like eating dinner when people would be like, you brought dinner. Yeah. You know, I have to go home and make something. And so I don't remember if it was the last time. It was like, I'll just make a big pot of chili and bring it. And we invited people to eat with us. Well, because we had like pumpkin cake and chili and baked potatoes and stuff all at the park with this group of people, it was this little group of high school kids who obviously nobody cared where they were. They were obviously so sad. Kind of came out of the woodwork to do the like, that smells really good, you know, like that. And we were like, come get some, and they did. But it also just really struck me. I don't remember at the time. It just seemed like, oh well, if you want to know where the contingency of teen pregnancies in Moscow is, this is it. The high school kids who are hanging out, like nobody cares where they are. It's dinner time. It's like cold and they didn't have coats. You know, it was a very sad and neglected little group of muffins. And that was a time to me that was just like, food is important. Yep. Like having something that you're like, eat this, join us, sit down, talk with us. And so that was why that was what the next couple years we did the Christmas dinner. I'd like to go back to doing it. Our kids love it. But
I think it was you got morning sick the next year. And
something went off the rails with the...
But we should wrap this thing up because we're talking for extended
for too many food times.
Yeah, we've covered
everybody. You know what we just did though? We
What?
posted our last episode, or Gemma did that.
Guys,
And then
it's on Facebook.
But then everyone unanimously was like, why don't they ever give a link to the recipes?
I know.
So what we
But
just did...
diligent souls found the links and posted
because they're
them.
better than we are.
Yeah,
they're just
they
better
are.
than us. But the thing is, our listeners are better than us. But the thing is that what we just did was touch on about 47 different
ones,
recipes.
which we'll never remember now what we said about
I
it.
can share the pumpkin whoopie pies. We could do that.
Yeah.
And then you talked about that pork tenderloin and apple slaw thing.
Oh yeah, that's
you should
a good
share
one.
that one.
That's good.
And then
Then again, I'm leaving
my
at 3
whole
in the morning.
Mexi Shazam is unrecipeed.
Well, recipe it up and share it. Come on now.
I might be able to. It's a handy one. One thing that you'll notice is around the holidays, people love something that's not automatically overly hearty.
It's not all cream cheese. Yeah.
Yes, like people love. No, the fact that it's like a choose your own level of intensity.
And there's cabbage and lime on top.
But it just gives you an opportunity to not eat too much cheese or to eat cheese if you wanted it.
Yeah.
It's just different. I think it's just a happy thing.
So that's your Christmas tip. Invite the town to dinner and feed them pork.
My Christmas tip is definitely that. I feed them pork. What's your Christmas tip gonna be?
I don't know. I can't think of these things because we never pause in advance
I have a Christmas tip
to discuss.
I have
what?
one that's not pork.
Okay.
If you're willing to come with me to unporky territory.
Okay, well, it's hard, but
If
maybe.
you shop on Amazon, I shop upon Amazon and put things in my save for later cart for Christmas.
Yeah.
So when I see something and I'm like, that could be cute for so-and-so, I throw it in my cart and hit save for later. But this, if it's in your cart instead of like on a list or something, then what happens is that when you go to your cart, it will tell you if the price has changed. And every once in a while, it'll be like, update, something dropped in its price or whatever. And so you can just move
Or
it
it
to
went
your cart
up
and buy
and then
it.
you say curses.
Yeah. Well, I just ignore those. It means nothing to me. But then when I do start actually ordering things from Amazon, I have that. Did I already say this? I feel like I might have. I have the firm policy of wrap when they come. Wrap if you're gonna. When you open the box, wrap the gift.
Yeah.
That's my policy.
That's a good policy.
Like, don't open the box if you're not prepared to
Okay,
wrap.
I have a tip, but this is not unique to me. I heard it somewhere, and I can't give credit because I don't remember who said it.
Well, if people say it's cute, you have to say that.
I'll see. Rachel thought of it.
Rachel thought of it.
So somebody said
straw.
Pardon,
guys,
I'm going to turn
pardon.
the heater on now that you're just being loud over there.
Background noise.
No, somebody said that their little thing for their kids when they were shopping was something they want, something they need, something to wear, something to read.
Oh, I think that was
And-
Betsy. Betsy Becker said that.
Was that? No.
Shout out
that's
to
not-
Betsy Becker.
Well, I didn't hear it from Betsy. Maybe I heard it from, I don't know where I heard it. But anyway, I thought
It's possible
it came
that
to
I
me
saw
from
Betsy.
further
I
afield
thought
than
Betsy
that.
said it, and maybe she credited it to someone
I
else.
don't know. I can't remember
But
where
it's
I
a
got
good
it.
idea.
Doesn't matter.
It's a good idea.
Maybe Betsy thought of it and she copyrighted it. But I'm not trying to steal the idea. I'm just saying I love that because I branch out further than that, but it gives you a great place to start with and especially the something to wear, something to read thing. For whatever reason, that's helpful for me to be like, okay, I need to pick out a fun book for everyone. Not just what is... I still need to fill in a gift for him. Maybe I'll try and find a book.
No, that's the trouble with the constant, it's the cutting bangs of Christmas shopping.
It's the worst.
Where you got a little too short over here, better trim over there. Oh,
Yep.
gotta go back and trim the other side. Nope, trim the other side.
And you find you're
pretty
buying
soon-
weard things nobody wanted just to
Pretty
make the
soon,
numbers even.
You are buying something on clearance at somewhere like Hastings. Just because.
So that you can.
Because, and there's some part of me that enjoys the randomness of gift shopping when you can't. I just love the humanity of it all. I love the fruitlessness of it.
I'm really excited about my gift ideas this year, but I can't talk about them because my daughters listen to this podcast. So I cannot
one
tell
thing I
you.
love is being in the grocery store aisle with people who are buying holiday foods, like around the weekend of it, like before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Get a thrill out of this, people. Go to the grocery store and actually enjoy how many of the dishes you recognize in other people's carts.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, those people do the Jell-O salad.
Yeah, these
It's
people
always,
are doing the French's
onion,
green
seems like
bean
everyone
thing.
does that, but we never
We
made
never
that
did.
onto the path.
No, we never did.
And one time I was at Winco and there was a whole group. It was like the night before Thanksgiving, and there was like 4 big men in all camo. Like they had rumbled in from the mountain.
Like Duck Dynasty has arrived.
Yeah, they'd come in from the mountain or from some far-flung place.
Yeah.
And they were standing and hashing it out about which stuffing box to buy, like stovetop, like the varieties amongst the stovetop. And it was that kind of thing blesses me so much. Like these, like, we must have stuffing. We will wear our camo suits to town to get a box of stovetop.
Probably on our 4-wheelers.
Probably, I thought.
Anyway, but we should stop talking.
Yeah, but you didn't finish saying your... Oh, we're getting longer and longer
This is
winded.
bad. Look, we're over 50 again.
Everyone's going to hate us.
We've got to stop.
Also, we got to stop because we're fresh out of Christmas tips.
And I have to get up at 3 in the morning and I still haven't packed.
It's basically 3 in the morning already.
It's already 3.
So
I'm
when
gonna
you
just
get
leave.
up, take an Alka Seltzer.
And then try and find someone unsuitable on the plane.
Oh, no! That is not what you meant. No, it's not. You meant
an unsuitable couple. We're gonna have to
it's so painful. What she meant, everyone, is sit next to unsuitable people. We will talk to you next time.
We've got to edit that
Becca,
one
you
right
gotta
out.
watch your tone.
New St. Andrews College thanks you for listening.